Calling the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Simons.
Here.
Freehand is here. Mr. Boda.
Here.
Mr. Patsalas. Mr. Horn.
Here.
Mrs. Babel.
Here.
Mr. Blackstock.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay, we have a quorum. We're all here but one. Would you follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag.
of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, moving on to the approved tentative agenda. We've had a little bit of additions to this agenda since it was mailed. I just want to make sure everybody's got the same thing. Does everybody show seven things under new business?
I got 6.
I've only got 6.
4.
Okay, well then the first one is the Township Association. Number 2 is the Workman's Compensation. Number 3 is the Board Commission, future meetings. Number 4 is the SBS. Number 5 should be the resolution for MERS. Number 6 should be the Point Drive lift station grouting. That's all you have is the 6 then, huh?
That's what I have.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I would like to add 2 more to the agenda,
2
which
more
would
to
be
the
under
agenda.
new business. Yeah. 2 more, which would be item 7, is the 2020 road agreement with St. Clair County.
2020 road agreement with St. Clair County.
And number 8 would be the proposal for a typographical survey on Point Drive.
That's going to be number 8.
Number 8. Yep.
Topographical survey on Point Drive.
Proposal, yeah.
Proposal, okay.
Larry, this is Angelo here. I've been here for a few minutes. I heard what you were saying there. I apologize for being late.
Oh, that's all right. Good. We're glad to have you. Yep. We got a full board. All right. So those are the 2 that I want to add. Is there any other additions or deletions to the agenda as presented? On a motion to accept the agenda with the additional 2.
So moved. Blackstock. Patsalas approved.
Okay. We have a motion and we have approval for the agenda. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Mr. Simons.
Yes.
Freehand votes yes. Mr. Boda.
Yes.
Mr. Patsalas.
Yes.
Mr. Horn.
Yes.
Ms. Babel.
Yes.
Mr. Blackstock.
Yes.
Motion carries. All right, moving on to the approval of the minutes of May 18, 2020. They're in your packet.
There are no additions or deletions. I'll make a motion. We accept the minutes of May 18th, 2020.
Babel support.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a support to accept the minutes, approve the minutes of May 18, 2020. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Blackstock,
Yes.
Ms. Babel,
Yes.
Mr. Horn,
Yes.
Mr. Patsalos,
Yes.
Mr. Boda,
Yes.
freehand votes yes. Mr. Simons,
Yes, motion carries. We approve the minutes. Moving on to public comment, is there anybody else on the line that would like to speak about anything that's not on the agenda? Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. We have C1, April 2020 Park Commission Special Meeting Minutes. C2 is the April 2020 St. Clair Area Fire Authority Run Report. C3 is the March 2020 Revenue and Expenditure Report. C4 is the April 2020 Revenue and Expenditure Report.
this is freehand. I'd like to make a motion that we accept, that we receive the reports, the minutes of the Park Commission and the St. Clair Area Fire Authority Run Report, the March 2020 Revenue and Expenditure Report, and the April 2020 Revenue and Expenditure Report.
This is Horn. I'll support that motion.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a support to accept the consent agenda as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Simons,
Yes.
freehand votes yes. Mr. Boda,
Yes.
Mr. Patsalos,
Yes.
Mr. Horn,
Yes.
Ms. Babel,
Yes.
Mr. Blackstock,
Yes.
Motion carries. We accept the consent agenda. Moving on to disbursements. We have invoices of $9,982.86. We have accounts payable of $165,714.01. We have payroll direct deposit, $27,214.32. We have EFT payments of $10,079.44 for a total disbursement of $212,990.63.
I'll make a motion that we pay the disbursements of a total of $212,980.63.
Babel,
Angelo
support.
here. I'll support.
All right, we have a motion and we have a support. Is there any further discussion on the disbursements? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Blackstock,
Yes.
Ms. Babel,
Yes.
Mr. Horn,
Yes.
Mr. Patsalos,
Yes.
Mr. Boda,
Yes.
freehand votes yes. Mr. Simons,
Yes. Motion carries. We pay the bills. Moving on to old business. We have none at this time. So we'll move on to new business, which is new business item 1. 2020 Michigan Township Association membership dues and legal defense assessment. It's in your packet. It's a total of $5,990.05. And this is an annual thing that we pay every year. This is our membership.
this is freehand. I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the supervisor to sign the 2020 Michigan Townships Association membership dues in the amount of $5,815.58 and the legal defense in the amount of $174.47 for a total due of $5,990.05.
Sable supports.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a support to pay the membership and the legal defense assessment. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Simons?
Yes.
Freehand votes yes. Mr. Boda?
Yes.
Mr. Patsalos?
Yes.
Mr. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Babel?
Yes.
Mr. Blackstock?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Motion carries. Moving on to new business 2, Workmen's Compensation Fund Annual Policy. That's for $10,320. Oh, that's $9,570. And then we've got a credit, it sounds like. A dividend credit. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, I got a dividend credit from the previous year. East China Township portion, $9,576.
Correct. So is there any further discussion on this?
This
Not a
is Freehand.
motion.
Just a question. The East China Township's portion of 9576 is the township's portion of the dividend credit, or because or was that applied to our premium, or what is the relevance of the $9,576?
This is Cindy. There appears to be a page missing. There should have been a statement page showing our full premium, which is 16,000. I don't have the number in front of me, or 19,000. I can't. There's a page missing.
Okay.
What we're seeing is our full premium is those two numbers added together. However, due to the nature of it being a self-insured fund, the dividends are paid back according to each individual insured performance to the program. So based on the past year's performance and our risk level, we are receiving a discount of $9,576.
This is Freehand again. There is the page. It shows a letter dated May 15, 2020 to you. So that was what I was trying to clarify and make sure I had the right information.
Yeah.
So the total bill would be the $10,320 plus the $9,576, but we're getting the $9,576 credit.
Correct. There is a page missing.
Okay. It's on the back of mine on the.
Well, I see that page, but there's still yet another page that should have been included that showed the full premium less the dividend credit and what the balance owed is. And I don't see that in the packet.
Here, I got it where it says the total was $24,682. Is that the one that was missing?
Nope. I
I
have
got a total premium, $19,896.
I don't have that page. I don't know what you're
I got
referring to.
I got it here.
So that doesn't add up, but this is the
Oh,
hard
there's
part of being.
19. No, it doesn't.
This is Horn. I'm looking at the dividend credit of $9,576 applied to this year's renewal premium.
Correct.
Premium should just be $10,320.
Right. That's what we're paying.
This is Angelo here. I'll make a motion that we pay our workers' compensation fund annual policy in the amount of $10,320.
Blackstock supports.
All right, we have a motion, we have a support. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Simons,
Yes.
Freehand votes yes. Mr. Boda,
Yes.
Mr. Patsalas,
Yes.
Mr. Horn,
Yes.
Ms. Babel,
Yes.
Mr. Blackstock.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. We pay the workman's comp. Moving on to new business 3, board and commission's future meetings. I believe this is just a discussion.
This is Freehand. I brought this up for discussion, and also if we needed to take any particular action. We had previously formally canceled the commissions that were scheduled to meet during May, April and May. The ones that we have, the township has control over, that would be the ZBA, the Planning Commission, and the Historical Commission. But we didn't say anything about the month of June. And for the township boards, we've been really going meeting by meeting. So it's a question of, do we want to formally cancel the boards and commissions? I think it depends a little bit on what the status is going to be of the boardroom for meetings. And I know, Cindy, you've had some things that, some directives we're looking at for use of the boardroom and public meetings. Did you want to comment about that at all?
Hold on. With regard to your meeting?
Either the township board. I mean, what I'm thinking about recommending is that our next meeting we'll continue with a telephonic meeting, and what I'd like to, for discussion, I'd like to recommend that we formally cancel the other commissions that I just mentioned during the month of June, and give them the option, if they had to have an emergency meeting, I could set up a telephonic meeting similar to what we're doing tonight.
Sure. So this is Cindy. From my perspective, the directive, the document that I sent out for review as our return to work plan is only related to employees and how they interact and what they can expect, what our staff will encounter, and it's during business hours. So anything that happens after business is going to be up to the board.
And I guess that's where I'd like to make a recommendation that we cancel the commission meetings for the month of June, and that the township board meeting for June 15th be held telephonically, and any board or commission that needs to meet on an emergency basis, we could make arrangements to set up a telephonic meeting for them.
Motion you
I
made.
agree with that.
What that will do is that will give us an opportunity to figure out the social distancing and all of that with tables, with board tables, because if we do move back into the boardroom, we're not going to be able to all sit at the board table. So in the same way, any board or commission that has a number of people, there's still going to be the requirement in public space for mask, at least during the month of June, for mask and for the 6-foot distance, social distancing. I know the city of St. Clair is, they are continuing to do Zoom meetings during the month of June.
This is Larry. I think we should continue that because, we've got the office kind of locked down. We're trying to control who goes in and out of the office for the safety of our employees. And until we get something in place, I don't want to bring a lot of people into the boardroom. I mean, because that's part of the township hall. Anybody else have any feedback on that?
You've got, this is Bodell, you have on your request, yeah, let's see, it says, you have done our June/July also, so does this include July?
My motion, I haven't made it formally, so for just discussion, but I was looking at primarily the month of June. And
okay.
So.
This is Larry. I think we should do it month by month. We can do it if we want to cancel July, we can do it at the 15th meeting.
The ZBA and the Planning Commission have no, as I understand it, as we looked at, they have no pressing business for the month of June. Debbie, I don't know, but what's the situation with the Historical Commission?
There's nothing really pressing at all. We usually just plan our open houses, but that's kind of by the wayside at this point. We can go month by month with that also. But yeah, I agree. We should probably cancel at least June commission meeting.
Okay, well then I'd like to make a motion that that the township cancels the Historical Commission, the Planning Commission, and the ZBA meetings scheduled for the month of June, with the option for emergency meetings to be done telephonically, and that the Township Board meeting for June 15th be held telephonically.
Able support.
We have a motion and we have a support. Is there any further discussion?
Just for this is board ad. Just for the information of the board, the Park Commission will be holding a Zoom meeting on Wednesday, June the 3rd. That's for your information.
Okay, thank you, Don.
Okay.
This is Freehand. We will also inform the Water and Sewer Authority, but they have to take whatever action they want to take.
Okay, Bill.
Thank you, because I got a call from Ralph today, and I said I would have more information for them to use to make their decisions. But again, point of order, this is only for township meetings, not for other the sewer authority parts, correct?
The Water and Sewer Authority set their own meetings. What we would inform them is that the Township Hall is not available if they chose to have a meeting. Now, they have to cancel their own meetings if they choose to cancel it or conduct it any way that they want to. But we don't technically we can't formally cancel their meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Can we extend our offer to them to do it telephonically?
I'd be happy to if Cindy, if you wanted to convey that to Ralph, if he wanted to do that, I could set up something for them.
Are you on the Sewer Authority?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I just wanted, the point of order I wanted to make was that, do we have, we're concerned about our staff at Town Hall not having people coming in and out. If the Water and Sewer Authority hosts a meeting at the water plant, do we still have that same concern, and do we have any authority over saying we can't allow that?
I can put a notice on the town hall door.
This is freehand. Technically, the township owns the building, so I think we do have control over how they could meet, and we are concerned about the operation, so I think it's appropriate for us to really not permit them. But that's my interpretation, that they shouldn't be able to, that it would violate some guidelines, the social distancing guidelines and public meeting guidelines for the Water and Sewer Authority to hold a meeting in that meeting room.
Okay. So that is a private authority. It does not have to be subject to the Open Meetings Act, correct?
Pardon?
Water and Sewer Authority is not subject to the Open Meetings Act, correct?
Not in the same way that the Township Board is.
Right. So my thought is it's not an open meeting. It is a meeting of a commission, and should they decide to meet in that facility, we're still not allowing the public in.
Sewer and Water Authority meeting, for your information, is open to the public. And if we have a meeting, we would not be meeting in a building. We would have it through the phone, like we do at the Township Hall type meeting. But that is an open meeting.
How is it? Is that a posted meeting by the Open Meetings Act?
Should be.
I think we'll need clarification on that before I can deem that meeting open or closed as far as my staffing and my back to work plan.
Okay, that'd be fine, but I'm sure it's an open meeting. It's all the years I've been on, we never had it closed.
If they want to have a meeting, they can have it outside too.
Can someone I'm not sure that I'm the right person to tell him as the authority what they can and can't do.
Well, I just say that I've never had a closed meeting when I was the chairman, and I've never had one otherwise being on the commission. But it wouldn't probably hurt to get somebody else.
I'm not talking closed meeting per se, but the stipulations of the Open Meeting Act require that the meeting be posted, the time, the location, and if it's not required, well, I would say that's a different situation, that you talk about it differently.
The minutes, at the end of the minutes that we have, it's always mentioned where the meeting is going to be, whether it be at the water plant or be at the hall or be at the sewer plant. That is always listed.
When is the next meeting scheduled for?
I'm sorry.
When is the next one?
Everybody's breaking up on my phone here, so I'm having a tough time catching.
Well, Ralph called me, but I think really he should be speaking with maybe a liaison to the board.
Good.
We have a liaison to the board. I think it's Mr. Boda, isn't it?
No, I'm the treasurer.
Who is that? Is Bob, are you the liaison?
I was appointed by the board before I became clerk, so I'm not really a board liaison as such. I don't know that they have one. But what, I mean, what the legal guidelines are for an authority would be in state law, I would imagine. So somebody would have to research that. I can try to, but I don't know what the specific guidelines are for an authority.
This is Cindy. Maybe someone could just reach out to Ralph and have a discussion as to how they want to hold their next meeting.
Yeah, I can do that because I don't even know. This is free, and again, I don't even know when the next meeting is scheduled.
If you want, you can
Right.
check with Dwayne Loper. He has most of the information.
Right. And so this is just to point out that it's subject to open meetings. That changes the conversation, and if it is not, then the Sewer and Water Authority can decide itself what they want to do.
Right. I do know that we cannot decide what they do for them as a township board. We do have control over the safety and security of the building. So, but as far as whether or not it's an open meeting and if it has to follow the guidelines of an open meeting, they can't actually hold it in that building if there is a requirement for it to be an open meeting. So I'll reach out to Dwayne and to Ralph and just check on some things with them.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Okay, was that good with you, Cindy? Is that?
Well, again, I'm not involved with the authority. I have directives that I have to work with my employees to ensure their safety, and if we are closing county hall for that reason, and I would think it would follow that we're also closing the water plant to the public, which if the meeting has to be held according to Open Meetings Act, would be a conflict.
Right, and that's basically what I'm including in the motion is the offer to hold a meeting telephonically, operating under the assumption that the building is not available for a public meeting. And quite honestly, even for the members themselves, let alone the public, it would violate the social distancing requirements and other directives by the state of Michigan to hold a meeting, even with the members themselves. So.
Okay, so we have a motion right now to cancel the meetings of the commissions that you mentioned, continue to have our meetings on telephonically, and offer it to the Sewer and Water Authority to use it. So if there's no further discussions, roll call, please.
Mr. Blackstock.
Yes.
Ms. Babel.
Yes.
Mr. Horn. Mr. Horn?
This is Horn.
Mr. Patsala.
Yes.
Mr. Voda.
Yes.
Freehand votes yes. Mr. Simons.
Yes. Motion carries. We canceled meetings for those commissions. All right, moving on to new business item 4, SDS vision benefits. I think the controversy here in these benefits is we realize now that we've been offering this to our retirees at the same price that we're offering it to our board members. Cindy, do you know, is it having the retirees, does that cost us any more than just their $7.94?
It's the same rate. We do have to process the billing, so we invoice them, we receive the money, then we send it along to SBS. So there is an administrative cost that we are not charging anything for to be a part of this group.
Okay. What would administrative fees be?
Anytime we have an outside service that we bill for, we usually add 10%. It's just kind of a standard.
So we're looking at 80 cents, huh?
Correct. I think it isn't the cost so much as if we decide to cover them, continue as has been, that has to be called out in the plan, that it's not just full-time employees, that others are also eligible. And right now the plan doesn't say that.
Several months ago when we found out that we're doing all the retirees, which we have probably 15 of them or so, 12 or 15.
Right, and we don't have any way of knowing if they're using it.
But are they paying us? Are all of them paying us?
No, we bill only those that apparently know that they can get it. Maybe not everyone knows. I don't know that.
I think we should keep it for our board members too. We've had that for a number of years for the board members. I think if it doesn't cost the township any money and they're paying the $7.94, that's a nice little perk for the retirees to have that vision care. If they had to go out and get it on their own, it'd be a lot more money. Anybody have any feedback on that?
This is Angelo here, and Larry, I would totally agree with you. I think it's a little perk for our retirees. It's only, like you said, 80 cents or whatever. I would like to leave it just the way it is right now for our full-time employees, our retirees, and our board members.
This is what we want to get in the policy. We want to get this in our policy that because it's not written that way now. Now it doesn't say retirees in there. So what you're saying is you would make a motion to add the retirees at the $7.94 and not the administration cost of 80 cents on top of it? Or?
Well, how were the retirees getting it in the first place then? If they weren't signing up for it, how were they getting it?
Well, I think what Cindy's saying is not everybody was getting it.
I don't know how they. It appears that when people retire, they roll over into the plan as part of their health insurance. They assume it kind of comes together. But I can't look back and say they were given a document that says this is something that they get. Right. They'll be billed for it. Some of this information just isn't available.
Do you know how many retirees we have in the plan right now?
Wish I had that at my fingertips.
Okay.
Probably, I do have all of that at work, darn it. I can't even make a guess.
Okay.
We're talking $100 there if we have 15 employees.
Maybe half of them.
I mean, They're paying. The only cost to the township is the administration cost, correct?
Well, right. Mm-hmm. We're not covering them. We're allowing them to be within the group, and we bill for that.
This is Rian. I'd like to make a motion that we continue to offer the SVS vision plan coverage to full-time employees as stated in the current agreement, with the cost of the plan covered by the township, and we continue to provide this optional reimbursement benefit to retirees, billing retirees monthly. We continue to provide this optional payroll deducted benefit to elected officials.
Table
Blackstock
support.
support.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a support. Is there any further discussion?
Our board has got one here. What if a township board member retires and doesn't run anymore? Does that still apply to them?
That's a good question, Don. I don't know.
That is a good question.
This is Freehand. What was the question?
If a board member does not any longer run for the board, would he or she still have an option of going to that plan?
The way I would interpret it, it would only be if you are actually holding an elected office, because the board members technically retire. Are you in the retirement program?
Good question.
No.
I don't know
Well,
what happens in 6 years.
The motion that I read, it says the optional reimbursed benefit to retirees, billing retirees monthly. So technically, if board members are technically retirees drawing a retirement benefit, then you would qualify under that aspect of things.
We don't get no retiree benefits.
And that would be
That's your
my
point.
interpretation, but so.
I would say no, Don.
Okay, just wondering.
Okay. Good question, though. Okay, so we have a motion, we have a support. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Simons?
Yes.
Marianne votes yes. Mr. Boda?
Yes.
Mr. Patsalos?
Yes.
Mr. Horn?
Yes.
Ms. Babel?
Yes.
Mr. Blackstock?
Yes.
All yes.
Okay, motion carries. Moving on to new business item 5, resolution 9-2020, first payment authorization. This came up in our discussion with our attorney, and Cindy and I, about, and Angelo, you know, and the board knows that we agreed to pay $75,000 per year to our MERS fund as to try and pay down the unfunded liability quicker. That was part of our contract. Well, it says, according to our contract, as soon as after ratification, that we make a payment. Well, we haven't made the payment yet. But how do we make the payment unless we've got some kind of resolution that says we're going to make the payment? In other words, it's a paper trail that will be good for the auditors. And one other thing we did, talking to our attorney, is he suggested that we set up a surplus at MERS. So I talked to MERS over there in Lansing, and I talked to our attorney. He was going to do it, and she offered to send us the paperwork. She sent it to Cindy. Cindy did what she had to do to fill it out. I went in and signed it. It's at no cost to the township, but the $75,000 will go into a separate surplus account to help pay our unfunded liability. And our payment to MERS, our 34 point something, will continue to take that percentage. So it'll help us pay down the the unfunded liability a little quicker. It'll also help us on our, what is the number, the 60, that we have to be above 60 or we got to have file that report. So what we're looking for is we've already committed to this 75,000. We're just looking for a resolution now so we can have a paper trail for the payment.
This is Freehand. In your packet, you had one resolution, and then I emailed a change to the cover letter and a change in the resolution. So I would like to offer a motion to adopt Resolution 9-2020, MERS Special Payment Authorization. And if you would like me to read it, the resolution.
Yeah, I think so.
Whereas East China Township has a contract with the Michigan Employees Retirement System, MERS, and whereas under the contract with MERS, the township is required to make a one-time payment of $75,000 within a reasonable time after ratification of the contract, April 6, 2020, and extra contributions of $75,000 on or before December 31st, 2020 and December 31st, 2021 to pay down unfunded accrued liability of the MERS pension plan. Now therefore be it resolved that the East China Board of Trustees hereby approves a payment of $75,000 to MERS to be applied to the township's portion of employee retirement plan cost and surplus account.
Okay.
This is Cindy. I have one comment. I believe that the statement whereas under the contract with MERS, under the contract with MERS should be removed. MERS is not requiring this of us.
MERS is not requiring what?
MERS does not require us to make this payment. Only the contracts that we've recently adopted with the unions do.
Correct. This is strictly a voluntary payment that we're making to help pay our unfunded liability down.
So it should be whereas under the contract
right.
with
I think if you just remove under the contract with MERS, that would be
correct.
Okay.
Should be
so
with the union. The contract's with the union.
Okay. So it'll just be whereas the township is required to make a one-time payment of $75,000. We'll just delete that one phrase then.
But I think you'll want to reference
required.
With the unions. It doesn't reference that. It seems like we have a contract with MERS that we're requiring to do something by April 6th.
So
I think I sent the verbiage of the actual contract adoption we had with the union. I can't pull that up. Try.
Okay, then whereas under the collective bargaining agreement, the township is required to make a one-time payment.
That would be more correct, yes.
Okay.
Everybody understand that?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Or yes.
Angelo, you know what? Does that sound right to you, Angelo?
Yep.
This
So
is
that's
Freehand.
the
So the
resolution?
this is Freehand. The second paragraph will read, whereas under the collective bargaining agreement, the township is required to make a one-time payment of $75,000. So
Well, that's not a correct statement either. We're required to make 3 $75,000 payments for the 3 years of the contract. But we're only making one right now. So that'll be up to the or next year to make Ryan said it has to be made by December 31st of next year.
Yeah, whereas now, the second whereas is under the collective bargaining agreement, the township is required to make a one-time payment of $75,000 within a reasonable time after ratification of the contract, which was April 6, 2020, and extra contributions of $75,000 on or before December 31st, 2020 and December 31st, 2021 to pay down unfunded accrued liability of the MERS pension plan. Now, what the resolution is that the East China Board of Trustees hereby approves a payment of $75,000 to MERS to be applied to the township's portion of employee retirement plan cost and surplus account. So all that we're really approving is the $75,000 one-time payment. But
Correct.
There's an understanding that there's two other payments due.
As per the contract, yes. So now you got your resolution right, I think. That sound good to you, Cindy?
Yeah, that will accomplish what we're trying to do.
Okay, I made the motion.
Okay. We have a support.
This is Angelo. I will support that.
We have a motion. We have a support. Resolution 9-2020, the MERS payment authorization. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Blackstock,
Yes.
Ms. Babel,
Yes.
Mr. Horn,
Yes.
Mr. Patsalas,
Yes.
Mr. Boda.
Yes.
Brianne votes yes. Mr. Simons.
Yes. Motion carries. Moving on to item 6, the grouting of the Point Drive lift station. I don't have that in my packet, but I did read it. I believe I talked to Blaine about it this morning. It's leaking at the top, and they want to grout this with this high pressure grout to stop it from leaking in from the surface and around the wet well. And this is one we're doing all the work on right now. Be the ideal time to do it. I believe it's $1,200 and some dollars. Do you have that in front of you, Cindy?
I have what was presented from Blaine.
$1,200.
The proposal is in the amount of $1,250.
And Blaine's asking to have that done. This is something that he's seen as they're working on the lift station that he'd like to get fixed. It'll stop. It's another portion of the infiltrated water in the Point Drive system down there.
This is Horn. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the route because it's going to stop a lot of influx, inflow of water from the surface.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Blackstock support.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a support to allow Blaine to grout the Point Drive lift station. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Simons.
Yes.
Freehand votes yes. Mr. Boda.
Yes.
Mr. Patsalas.
Yes.
Mr. Horn.
Yes.
Mrs. Babel.
Yes.
Mr. Blackstock.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries. We approve the grouting. All right, next, moving on to new business, item 7, the 2020 road agreement with St. Clair County. The agreement is $25,000 worth of work. We have to put in $5,000 and the county puts in the rest. A lot of this is in response to, the county gives all the townships $25,000 worth of gravel to gravel their county road, their township roads, and they make them pay $5,000. I mean, but we don't have the gravel roads like the rest of the townships. So in our meetings that we had up at the road commission, the administrator up there, he agreed to I think there's only two townships, Port Huron Township and East China, that are almost all gravel roads. So he's letting us use this $25,000 in other things, services. So we're using it to do rubber crack filling, but I need an authorization to sign that.
I'll make a motion that you'll be allowed to sign that.
This is Cindy. Can I just clarify? There are 4 agreements that need approval to sign.
I only seen the one. I guess I didn't look at them all.
The top one is for the crack fill, seal, and patch for an amount of the township to contribute $20,000. The second one is for the cloth mowing for $1,476, which I imagine you could approve on your own. Then the chloride for $3,000 and the shoulder patch for $5,000.
They give us match money for all those. The 25 that we're getting, that's their way of giving us what the other townships are getting for the gravel. Chloride is mostly for Bryson Lane on a couple of the street ends that we've done. Then the shoulder patching, that's something we do. We do this every year. It ends up that the county is paying more than half of it. I would suggest that we do all. We've done them every year.
Is that in, this is Angelo here, is that in your motion, Mr. Boda?
I'm sorry, repeat that?
Are all 4 of those articles going to be in your motion, or do we have to vote on them separately?
I didn't make the motion. Oh, wait a minute, I guess I did, didn't I? Include all 4.
Okay, thank you. Then we need a support.
I will support that. This is Angelo.
We have a motion, we have a support. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Blackstock,
Yes.
Ms. Babel,
Yes.
Mr. Horn,
Yes.
Mr. Patsalos,
Yes.
Mr. Boda.
Yes.
Freehand votes yes. Mr. Simon.
Yes. Motion carries. We do the 4 agreements with the road commission. All right, moving on to new business, item 8. It's a proposal for a typographical survey on Point Drive. I was given a estimate from our engineers about 3 weeks ago that we had to spend $7,500 to get a typographical survey in order to get the permit to bore down Drive in the road right away. I question why that wasn't done. I talked to Bill Hazelton, the county engineer. I talked to John Ponte. I thought there was a communication problem here. In the meantime, I got those two together. They talked again, and now they only want the topo done where they're going to do the digging, what they're called bore pits. And there'll be several of those along Point Drive where they have to set up the boring machine. They can't reach the whole thing in one push. So what it amounts to is $3,620. So it's been cut in half. I'm still not happy with it, but I don't know what I can do about it now. I've done everything I can. But on the plus side, we were informed that the pipe that they picked out was not the right pipe. Because it was going to restrict some of the flow. So they're using this other pipe. So we're going to be credited $3,500 on that side. So I guess if you look at it, it's kind of a wash, but we still have to authorize this proposal to do this typographical survey in order to get the permit. They're going to do it, and then we're going to get billed, and I want to have permission to sign that invoice. Any discussion about this?
Yeah, Larry, just to clarify, I spoke with John. He mentioned this to me when I bumped into him. And just so everyone's aware, what I was told was that, we're doing two of these pipes. One along M29, which is state road, which is under Eagle's jurisdiction. And then the other one along Point Drive, which is under the county's jurisdiction. What I was told was that the permit for M29 was granted without this additional surveying where these pits were required. So they were a little more lenient, but for some reason the county apparently were sticklers and requested this extra surveying to take place, which really doesn't make sense, at least to me, simply because this isn't something that's a structural pit. This is just where they're doing they're stopping one bore, they're continuing it on and tying the pipe together. So I'm not sure why there would be a topo required, because they're not changing any of the grading. Any tracks or any pit that they're required to dig. So again, from my understanding from the engineer, this is something that the state did not require, but for some reason the county is requiring. Is that what you were told from the county, or was there any discussion on that?
Let me add to that, Herb. Before, when I got that $7,500 invoice that they wanted to do that, I didn't call John Monte. I called Bill Hazelton at the county to find out, is that a criteria that has to be met before they do this? And he said it's right in their specs for St. Clair County that they have a typographical survey when they're going to do a sewer line along there. Bill Hazelton is the head engineer. With this COVID-19 going on, they were home a week, on a week, or off 2 weeks, whatever. They had a junior engineer that John was dealing with, and John was with the assumption that they did an aerial survey, and that's what Eagle agreed to, the aerial survey. The county did not. I don't think the county knew all the details. Either the junior engineer didn't pass it on, but when Bill Hazelton, who has to have his blessing to do that, he refused to do it without this. And after talking to Bill said that he was not even told it was a directional bore. So I think there was some communication with the COVID-19. I'm not blaming anybody, but I told him, why does the township have to bear the burden of $7,500? And then John tells me that, you guys wanted this in a big rush, so I don't think we're paying for a big rush. I mean, it's not done yet, but they said we're in a big hurry. Well, they didn't even have the permits, and that's part of the permit process. But again, I'm trying not to blame anybody, and that's why I talked to both parties, and then I got them to talk to one another, and they came up with, we'll just do the topo in the pit areas. So that saved us $3,500.
Okay.
$3,480 or something like that. But still, it's my point being that they presented us with the whole package. They knew about this, that, and the other thing, but they didn't know that they had to have a typographical for the permits. To me, that was what I told John. I would have called the county and got that under, that should have been done first, but I think it's just a communication. I'm not blaming anybody. I just think with the COVID-19 going on, people being off for 2 weeks, and then John, he thought he was going to get the permit, and then he didn't get it. And like 3 weeks went by. And then Bill Hazelton's like, well, I didn't hear anything for 3 weeks, so I didn't know what you guys were doing. I think we got it ironed out. It's going to cost us $3,620, but again, I don't know what we're going to do. I think we got to pay it.
Yeah, if it's required to get the permit.
So I guess that's what I'm looking for. And they've already started on the project. They're working in the lift station now. So I guess what I'm looking for is a motion to do that typographical invoice when it comes for $3,620.
This is hard. If they want to start the job, they're going to have it in the permit. I'd make a motion that we okay Larry to sign that in the $3,600.
$3,620.
$620.
Blackstock support.
Okay, is there any further discussion on that? We have a motion and a support. I'd just like to say that I like to know all my costs up front when we start these projects. I don't like to get surprises. And to me, that was a surprise, the $7,500. But I think we resolved it. We saved the township some money and we got it. So any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Blackstock,
Yes.
Mrs. Babel,
Yes.
Mr. Horn,
Yes.
Mr. Patsalos,
Yes.
Mr. Boda.
Yes.
Freehand votes yes. Mr. Simons. Mr. Simons.
Motion carries. All right, that's done with new business now. We'll go on to announcements. I really don't have any announcements other than we're still in the lockdown in the office. In our buildings, our water and sewer plant are still locked down to employees only. Until we get that all straightened out and the ban is lifted, the governor's orders. We're not going to open the township offices until we feel it's safe for our employees. We haven't had a lot of complaints. Everything seems to be working pretty smooth, but the sooner we can get back to near normal, I think the better we'll be, better everybody will like it. So, the parks, I don't know. They're probably not going to open till after it's lifted, the governor's order. Can't think of anything else. Cindy, would you like to have anything to add to the meeting today?
Well, I was hoping there would be a discussion regarding the documents that I shared, the kind of guiding document from MTA, and then the procedures for our government restart plan. I've been granted the responsibility to basically manage through this, but truly the expectation at this level is for the board to recommend or advise that they would want to implement my recommendations in this document rather than just having me do it. So I would like input or some conversation about the document that was shared if everyone got a chance to look it over. This is a requirement under the state guidelines to mostly with relation to employers and employer responsibility to its employees.
This is Freehand.
Everybody.
It goes into great length about setting up a team and like an advisory board. I look at it as a question of how we logistically do that. Do we establish a subcommittee of the board? I don't think we want to have a discussion just open-ended for the entire board. I don't think that's a very efficient way of doing things. I understand that you like some direction so that it's not just a unilateral decision. But I wonder how the best way to go about doing that is. It would almost be, to me, it would be that you might recommend something or discuss it with
Well,
super.
right. So just to clarify, I believe we've already taken that step. The board has designated me as the person who would do the research and make sure we're complying to all of the standards and the executive orders that are coming out. So that part has been done. The guide that I sent out from MTA was just to kind of, if you hadn't seen this, it's really helpful to understand what we're doing and why we're doing certain things. It's the second document that I sent that I put all of the plan together, and I'm looking for the board basically approval of that. And if you have any concerns or comments or want to make some changes to that, that's what I would like to have that discussion.
This is Freehan again, and that's the way I was interpreting it. That only took us up to May the 28th, and that's why I was looking at where do we go. I know you're looking at June 15th, and the problem is a lot of these things are very fluid. So how does the board make a decision in a timely manner when the governor almost on a weekly basis changes some of the guidelines? So
can I clarify what exactly, are we looking at the same document? The one that I put together, East China Township Procedures for Government Restart?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. This is basically catching us up. It really is the plan that we've been utilizing. It's just putting it in a document so that it can be referred to and used as guidance. There are no dates other than the potential date of the reopening, and again, it's subject to change.
So my question, this is Freehan again. My question is, are you looking just for approval of that as board action, or?
I don't think this is part of the whole resolution or motion that was made at the beginning of this to designate, that I would make certain decisions regarding employees in the workplace. Okay, but this is still part of that. But at this point, I'm looking for your approval, whether it be formal or informal, or even just feedback.
I think we should continue doing what you've been doing because you're meeting all the statutes now.
I'm actually looking at this particular document because this will become something that the employees will have to adhere, and if they don't, there will, then we talk about, well, why are you not doing what's in the restart plan? You're not social distancing. You're sharing, a vehicle. You're not supposed to do that. So this puts that guidance in a document that I can then, as manager, use to discuss any type of employee issues that may come up.
This is Freehan again. That's what I was using when we were discussing the use of the boardroom and so on. I was using that as a guideline for future use, assuming that the governor's restrictions and all of the requirements are going to remain in place during the month of June, and until we have all of the things necessary for the township hall, that we should limit the use of the township hall. So I'm operating under the assumption that in the same way as my comment about the water plant, that and staff or any public meetings in the water plant, that we would in essence be following those things that you outlined in there, at least for the public are concerned, or for those of us on the board. But if you're looking for a formal approval, I guess I'm already operating under that assumption. That's why I made the recommendation that we continue to do telephonic meetings.
I don't think I'm necessarily looking for formal consent, but just make sure that everyone has looked at it. If you have a problem with anything, that you let me know right away. There's a couple of things that, may surprise you. I want to explain things if you have questions, because once I take this out of draft mode, all of the employees will receive it and they will be expected to adhere to it.
When do you have to have this authorization? We can't wait till the next meeting. Could be over.
Well,
basically, you're looking for just. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Hi, this is Fran again. I think what we did, we gave her the authorization before to develop something, and we implemented that for the employees. And so it's, I would interpret based on that you're looking really for any input from us because you're going ahead and want to implement the things unless we had some difficulty with it.
This is Cindy. That is exactly what I'm looking for. I want the board to be aware because truly the board is the authorizing, the governing body that is the management of the township and its employees. I just carry out the action. So right now, I would like feedback if there is any.
This is Larry. I'm in total support of what she's doing, and I think we should continue doing it. I didn't read the article word for word, but I will. So how are we going to handle this? We wanted to give you some kind of authorization tonight because we're not going to meet for 2 weeks.
I'm not looking for authorization, but just please read it over. If you have concerns or comments, contact me. I'd like to put this out as soon as possible.
Oh, okay.
And this is Freehand again. She already has authorization to develop and implement the plan. What you're really looking for is any feedback from us before you do that. So if we have any problems with it.
Let's say we get back with her in the next couple of days, Yeah. If somebody has a complaint, they should get with her or want a discussion or clarification, get with her in the next 2 days.
Right. So if you see that I missed something or overlooked something, haven't addressed something, or if there's something in there that you don't understand how we would implement or what we would do to do that, that's what I'm looking for.
Okay. Does everybody understand the comment?
Yeah. This is Freehand. The one area that always concerns me is when you put two people in a truck together. And I don't know, is everybody comfortable with just the masks, or do we? I don't know how it normally occurs. Do we normally have two people in a truck, or is that an unusual circumstance?
This is Cindy. I'll explain to you a circumstance where, no, right now everybody's supposed to be in their own vehicle, and 9 times out of 10 they are. The situation came up. What happens when we have to take a truck for service? And drive one truck and follow the truck, or do we put 2 people in a truck and then, so there will be random occasions where if they both go to the dealer to drop the trucks off, 2 people are going to have to ride back in one truck.
It's an isolated occasion, right?
It is, and that's where you tell them to keep the windows down and keep their masks on and follow what they can as far as protocol.
Usually, this is Don Horn. Usually when you go in for service, they bring you back wherever you have to go. Truck off.
But you still have 2 people in the truck.
Only one should take it.
What's that?
Only one of them should take it because the dealer usually gives you a ride back.
Yeah, but there's somebody driving the one that's giving you a ride back.
this is freehand. I think in a situation like that, it's actually better because we know, Cindy, it's true, they have to check in each day. And if they're showing any signs of symptoms or anything like that, they have to report that. So you wouldn't really have two people in a truck who haven't been okayed to be at work that day. Is that a correct assumption?
This is Cindy. Yeah, that is. Each employer is responsible for its own employees, and so therefore we are doing everything to keep our employees contained in a closed loop.
Okay. Have anything else, Cindy, that you wanted to bring up?
Nope.
With that, I guess we'll move on to member comments. Mr. Freehand.
Just that we have sent out just under 1,000 applications to vote absentee for the August election. They are starting to come back in already. We have, as I mentioned at the last meeting, we're encouraging people to make use of the opportunity to vote absentee ballots for this particular election, the August 4th election, because with the current guidelines that we're getting from the state, we will still be in a social distancing and a mask arrangement for access to public buildings, which is where in-person voting takes place. So the lines would be longer. The voting time will be longer. So in order to reduce the amount of time that you might have to wait to vote in person, we recommend that you consider using the absentee ballot opportunity. All that you need to do, if you have not already received an application from us, if you're not on our permanent AV list, is to call the township offices and the clerk's office and ask for an application for a ballot sent to you.
Question, Bob. The other day in the mail, I got one from the state of Michigan for an absentee ballot. Is everybody getting one of these?
As we understand it, the state is mailing out an application to vote absentee to all of the people, all the registered voters in the township who are not on the permanent AV list. We mailed out an application to, as I said, about just under 1,000 people who are on our permanent AV list. The state and mailed out, as we understand it, to the remainder, and that would be about 2,100 people.
Yeah, it's got your name on the bottom to mail it to you.
It's because it has to come back in to clerk.
Okay. I just wanted to let you know that I got one.
That's what we had heard was happening. So this is the first report that I've had that people actually have received them, because it would be going out to people who are not on the permanent absentee voter list. We have a high percentage of people on our AV list. We have about 31% of our registered voters are on the permanent AV list. They automatically receive an application to vote absentee. Now, if a person doesn't fill out the application and doesn't send it back in, they don't get a ballot. And so there's no requirement.
They can go vote in person.
They can still go vote in person, yes.
All right, anything else, Bob?
No, that's all. Thank you.
And Mr. Boda, member comments?
Yes, sir. I've got one. I just want to pass along to the board to get their feedback on it. the sirens in the township for the weather sirens. I've been outside when they've gone off, and the nearest one that I hear is from the main park, and that one when I hear is actually low sounding. What I'm wondering is if we could change the sirens out there from what they are now, which I said I think are low, to something like the fire whistles in Marine City and St. Clair. They're quite loud. And I was thinking that might be a good idea for a township because, even if you're sleeping at night, the sirens go off, at least in my area down here. And I'm sure there's other areas of the township. People would be sound asleep and not hear those sirens in case you get some weather during the night. And I just wanted to try and, as I said, just give it to the township board and let you people think about it a little bit and see if it's something you might want to consider. Like I said, the sirens themselves are low. I think we only have, I believe, 4 of them around the township, which I don't think is real good. But again, I'll leave it up to the board to consider that. That's my 2 cents worth. Thank you.
Hey, Don, on those sirens, those are controlled by the emergency management. They've been doing some work on them and testing them, and they're finding a lot of them don't even work. So I think there's some work being done on the sirens right now. I mean, not in the township, but overall for the whole county. Because they're trying to be more isolated when they get a tornado, let's say. If it's in Clay Township, they're not going to sound the alarms up in Greenwood,
Right. I agree with that, and I understand that. But if something were to happen, say, God forbid, in East China, a tornado starts coming through, whether it be at daylight or be at nighttime, those sirens are hard to hear. So,
yeah, they're not very good.
I know.
Next time I can talk to, let's say I'll talk to Justin Westmiller next time and see if I can see what they're doing on that.
Okay, no,
I can call him.
Okay, so we can even replace the sirens just to get something louder, like I said, like the fire whistles in town. That'd be.
But I don't know if those are on us or on emergency management to do now.
I don't know if they know what kind of sirens they got, but
they do. They checked them.
Yeah, I know. One time they went to try them, they didn't work. I know that happened, and then when they did get them to work, they're very low. So, anyways, that's my 2 cents worth.
Okay, that's it then. Mr. Pasalis.
I don't have anything this evening, Larry. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Horn?
Yes, Larry, I was just wondering does the county have any jurisdiction over no wake law here? Because these cruisers are going by and they're throwing some of the wash right over the wall, right over the protection, really.
I believe all that jurisdiction is under the county. We don't have any out there. I read in Clay Township that they deputized the police officers down there, and they bought a boat, a patrol boat for Clay, and they're authorized to give tickets. But we don't have nothing like that. We're relying on the Marine Patrol from the sheriff. I guess if you see a cruiser, call the sheriff.
Because you got to get the number off the things, and they're mostly over on the Canadian shore. Canadian side.
Now we're in another country. I don't know how you're going to stop that.
I was just wondering if the Coast Guard or something, the county got a hold of them and put a no wake law through here because the water level's high tonight again.
Don, this is Don. The Canadian government has no wake law.
That's all I
Okay,
have.
anything else, Mr. Holmes?
That's all I
Mrs. Babel?
I'm good tonight. Everybody stay safe.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Blackstock?
Nope, I have nothing tonight, Larry, thanks.
Okay. We're down to me. The one thing I want to say is the water's kind of going up and it's kind of staying there, so we got to watch what's going on down there. We've been pretty lucky so far, but I don't think we've reached the maximum yet. They're forecasting it to be down. They are working on the lift station on Point Drive. That work has started on the station. They haven't started doing any directional boring yet. Blaine was unable to get back with us today on that DPW labor or position that we want to get in the DPW. So we're going to be adding that to our next meeting. He's promised he'd have time to get with that and sit down with Cindy and myself or Zoom or conference call or whatever. So other than that, that's all I had. So I guess a motion to adjourn would be in order.
For that, I'll make a motion that we adjourn at around 9:03.
We have a-
This is Fran. Who supported?
on Okay, we have a motion, we have a support to adjourn. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, or no, roll call.
Mr. Simons.
Yes.
Mr. Fran votes yes. Mr. Boda.
Yes.
Mr. Patsalas.
Yes.
Mr. Horn. Mrs. Babel.
Home.
Yes.
Mr. Blackstock.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you and stay safe.